Hi, my fellow Scriabinoids. I would like to talk today about something that I've been asked so many times, and the question that so many people are actually discussing and a lot of people are not really sure about. So we know that Scriabin had a color tone system that he envisioned a cross-disciplinary, inter-transdisciplinary performance genre as the leading genre of the art. But the question remains whether he was a synesthete or not, because many claim that he was. So let's talk sources. Today it might get a little academic, so don't freak out, but we need to go through historical sources, and I'm of course leaving all the references below in the description. So hang on here and let's dive in. Scriabin lived at the end of the 19th and the beginning of the 20th century, and he was known for his synesthetic perceptions, a claim that since has been contested. Today, synesthesia is generally understood as a neurological phenomenon in which stimulation of one sensory or cognitive pathway leads to automatic experiences in another, according to psychology today. Research indicates that Scriabin did not possess the neurological condition from birth, but instead developed his color tone system analytically, according to Galeyev and Vanechkina. Nicholas Cook underscores this historical context. It is clear that for Scriabin it was keys, rather than individual notes or timbres, that possessed colors. The various association of keys, including emotional and anecdotal associations as well as color, can be seen as articulated around these historically changing structural models. In this context, Scriabin's synesthesia may be seen as in part historically determined. His mapping of the color wheel onto the cycle of fifths differs from the early 19th century schemes and conforms with later thinking in that it passes effortlessly from the blue of F-sharp major to the violet of D-flat major, reflecting his compositional assumption of enharmonic equivalence. In other words, Scriabin saw the cycle of fifths as a true circle of fifths and hence isomorphic with the color wheel. Scriabin's aesthetic integrated sensations beyond the oral, including light, color, as in the Prometheus, Poem of Fire, Opus 60, that includes a double light counterpoint, movement, scent, and touch, as in the unrealized Mysterium. And here I'm going to take a little detour and explain what Mysterium was supposed to be. So it's a multimedial, or according to Scriabin's terminology, omni-artistic work that he intended to create and stage in the Himalayas. It would last for 7 days and encompass all the spectators as participants. So there would be no audience because everybody would be taking part. According to his beliefs, due to the power of the art, the work was to encompass the vision of an apocalyptic ecstasy and the end of the world. Thus, humanity would disappear and subsequently be reborn as higher creatures. For more information, see Boris de Schloezer. The colored light part for Prometheus was a carefully crafted artistic system that he modified over the course of several years, designed as a prelude to the multimedia vision of the Mysterium. Anna Gawboy writes, she reasonably concludes that Scriabin was a synesthete according to the way that the phenomenon was framed during his own time period, but according to current definitions, he was not. I adopt this position as the most productive framing of Scriabin's cross-model thinking. Scriabin's desire to unite various art forms suggests a meta-artistic orientation where creative activity itself becomes the subject matter. He wrote, "Everything must merge, everything must unite for the expression of creative activity. Music was insufficient for this purpose. There must be shades of color, gestures every time of rhythmical movement, human speech in all its forms, and therefore indirectly science, technology, and everything in general which relates to human creative life and thought," as Simon Nicholls writes. Scriabin envisioned a synthesis of music, color, gesture, and speech, according to Lazarus Trierho, implying that no single art form was sufficient to express his artistic vision. So, of course, this raises the question, how can actually cross-disciplinary performance meaningfully engage with and even expand upon this vision, particularly in the interpretation of Scriabin's works? Since Scriabin's death in 1915, the widening gap between his notation, his own highly individual playing style, and the literalist habits of modern performance has been disastrous for his legacy, according to Anatole Leikin. So any attempt to understand the notion of his interpretational freedom must start by acknowledging how radically Scriabin himself bent rhythm, texture, articulation, pedaling, and other factors in his own practice. My own investigation stems from the observation that many interpretations of Scriabin's works often underemphasize the subtleties of temporal, timbral, and phrasal nuance, and even more, the symbolic and the semantic depth embedded in the scores. Such dimensions are harder to reach through traditional single-sensory performance alone, yet they have a strong potential to emerge when the music is placed within collaborative cross-modal frameworks. Engagement with other arts such as dance, light, space, and scent brings latent meanings to the surface and reshapes interpretive awareness. So Scriabin envisioned intermediality and transdisciplinarity as transformative sources capable of elevating or transfiguring human experience, according to Boris de Schloezer. Anna Gawboy writes, "Indeed, what we know about Scriabin is that he wanted his music to disturb, and to do so beyond the usual riot at the theater that greeted other early modernist works. Scriabin wanted his music to disturb on a cosmic, metaphysical, and molecular level." According to Fabion Bowers, Scriabin intended to express particular contrasting mental states in his work. Moreover, the composer felt that he had attained his sainthood and manifested dematerialization. To understand what Scriabin might have meant by transcending human emotion, we can look to broader ideas of the Gesamtkunstwerk, or the total work of art. Now, that's a footnote to Wagner, of course, and transformative performance aesthetics. Rather than viewing this as a simple departure from feeling, Scriabin's intention points to a rebirth of humanity through art, a sweeping meta-artistic venture that draws on synesthetic effects, cross-modal integration, and theosophical notions of cosmic evolution. Various authors illuminate this dimension of Scriabin's late works, suggesting that his ultimate goal was not merely to move beyond emotion, but to recast it within a higher plane of existence. In the introduction to the notebooks of Alexander Scriabin, Simon Nicholls writes that the principles of Scriabin's thought were the following: the art should combine or recombine, art should reconnect with its mystical origins and should unite mankind in a spiritual sense. The world was on the brink of a new era, one of an endless series, and art, Scriabin's art in particular, had a crucial role to play in bringing that era into being. The basis of artistic creation and of meaningful insight was ecstatic inspiration. The higher self was regarded as identical with the divine principle, and the artist's work as equivalent with the creation of the cosmos. Kenneth Smith states that Scriabin does not merely attempt to give voice to human subjectivity. His rather less modest aim is to replicate the evolution of the entire cosmos, while Boris de Schloezer asserted that Scriabin conversationally espoused his cosmogonic and anthropogenetic formulas, which he elaborated by analysis of his creative products, his music. Thus, this composer was deeply confident that intermediality would enhance art, which he viewed through a unique lens, rooted in theosophical, if not religious, perspectives. According to his beliefs, it would serve as a means of humanity to embark on a transformative journey toward a new dimension rebirth and a higher plane of existence. I hope this video was informative and useful to you to understand whether Scriabin was really a synesthete. So I believe that maybe for the definitions and terminology of his time he was, but according to the contemporary terminology of the 21st century, he was not. It's up to you to decide what you would like to think about it. Let me know in the comments whether this was something new that you have learned today, something interesting. Don't forget to like this video if this was the case, subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.